G'day, my name's Nadz. We're going to go cook up some of the fish the boys caught on Skyline. I quite often cook it for them. They bring it in to me and I try and make up a few nice things for them. But first we've got to go fillet it. So there's lots of ways to fillet fish and there's lots of ways to fillet a kingi, but being a chef I like to break it down, or hopefully they bring it in to me like this so I can break it down the way that I want it so I can use the most of it as I can. We're going to take the wings off, use the belly and split it down here. So first up, I'm probably just going to whip off these loins here and save this bit of wing for the smoker. Come straight up there, and we'll try use as much as this. I should have gone a bit higher there probably, but split on fat. And then there's a big high backbone down the back. You don't want to waste too much of it, so you can just kind of like they do with tuna loins, you split it down. And then you can run it along. That backbone. That nice one. Trim out around those bones. So it might look like I've wasted a lot there, but I'm not going to waste that. I will probably chuck that in the smoker. It's a nice big fatty bit of belly flat there. I'll just trim that up a bit. I get a little bit finicky with trimming it up because, as I said, being a chef, I like to get the best presentation I can out of it. Hey, and skinning, that's another good point about splitting it in half down the back before you fill it out. I find it a lot easier to skin it as two separate pieces rather than one big piece that's sort of bending around the curve of the fish, so you've got a flatter surface to hold it against. Hopefully, because kingfish have got quite a thin skin compared to other, like in small scales, compared to like snapper or teriyaki or something like that. So it's quite easy to cut straight through, especially with a sharp knife. Cut straight through, and then you've got skin on your fillet. And it's like, let's see how we go. Another chef trick is that I've got taught this doing salmons. So you pull the fish back towards you rather than try to push the knife along the board. Pull the fish back towards you and keep your knife where it sort of is. Well, I don't know if it actually helps much, but I was always taught that. Again, being a chef, always trim it up. There's nothing really wrong with the brown, the bloodline on the fish. It's just a little bit stronger and not as pretty. I mean, I'm just get a bit picky, and especially if I'm going to be using this for ceviche or sashimi, something that's going to be served raw where you can see it as it is. Which probably what I'll be using this for is probably sashimi or sashimi. It's still got a bit of the fat in it, so it's not too dry. Put that aside in some ice. Unlike a snapper, there's not a hell of a lot on the head to use, but we're going to try to use as much as we can on these wings and the smoker. So just trim it. Still a lot of good meat on here to eat, so we're going to chuck that in the smoker. And just going to crack it off at the knuckle. Put that aside. Probably get 3 pieces, 2 or 3 at least. Chuck that in some sugar and salt, and that'll be beauty in the smoker tomorrow. And the head, there's always someone willing to take the heads if you don't want it. It's a lot of picking around, but there's always someone that wants a feed. I know my partner, she loves the heads. She'll eat the eyes all day. broken it down into sort of main bits. I'm going to that bit's all gonna fall apart anyway. So I always just take that piece off the main top loin there, and then you get this nice, almost perfectly square already, ready for you to sashimi up. You got the nice eye there, but for sashimi, freshly filleted like this, it's still a bit soft. So if you can, wrap it in Glad wrap and get it on ice and leave it to chill down as much as you can, and it'll firm it up and make it a lot easier to slice. So this will just go on some ice there, ice slurry preferably. Sometimes you can even put salt in it. You want to get it as cold as you can, near frozen sometimes. I've actually, to the point of just frozen it so it's still sliceable but icy in it. Then you get the perfectly thin, even slices. But as I said, I get a little bit picky sometimes. Preferably, if you had a bit of time, you'd do this a little bit of ahead of time, so you had time for it to cure a little bit. But we're on a bit of a schedule, so I'm just going to rub on some brown sugar and salt mix, probably 80% or more than that sugar. The salt, you don't want it too salty. And, sugar seems to dissolve away, the salt sort of remains. But we're going to do that to this whole snapper and all these bits of belly flap that I've got in here from filleting the kingi. And they'll be in the wings, and they'll be beautiful. So we'll do that while we're preparing the rest of the fish. Hey, so from filleting up that kingi and a couple of little snappers we've got also, we've got some snapper here that we're going to use for ceviche, which is a sort of South American style raw fish. We've got the main top loin here. We're going to ceviche also. We've got the top loin that we trimmed and wrapped earlier for the sashimi. So that's been on ice. I'll put it back in ice in a second. We've got more of the bottom loins near the belly flap, where we trimmed the belly flap earlier, and the wings, and they're in the smoker already, so they're waiting for us when we're done. This will be used for the skewers, which will go on the grill, barbie grill later. I think we'll start with the skewers, and everything that, all the trimming that I'm going to trim off as we go, it's going to be akamata, so we're not going to waste any bit. So with this top loin, we're just going to thinly slice it, lay it out on a plate. This is for ceviche. So unlike our sort of raw fish we use in here, which would be the akamata, which we'll be making later, with the offcuts, this is sort of almost like more like a dressing on the raw fish rather than marinating. So we'll just, you lay it all out nice evenly, slices full plate, and I think I'll do a little bit of a combination here so we can get we have to compare the taste textures of some of the snapper and some of this kingfish. And personally, I think I'd almost always go for kingfish for raw fish, but for ceviche I think snapper We'll do 2, see, we can compare that later. When I had my own restaurant, I used to do cooking for some of the other local charter companies that locals that are bringing their fish, and this, surprisingly, I found was probably the favourite way for them to have the raw fish. I've done it many different ways in the past, but this ceviche is by far the favourite. So there we got half a plate of snapper. You can tell with the lines in there. Half a plate of the top loin of the kingfish. And we'll dress that in a second with a little bit of chilli, red onion, some herbs. We've got a bit of fennel, Italian parsley. I'd usually put in a little bit of coriander, but it's a bit hard to find. These herbs I actually got out of my garden because I couldn't find any to buy locally at the moment. It's been, well, one day away from July. Hard to get the fresh produce, but we'll whip something up there with a bit of, got a bit of white balsamic and some extra virgin olive oil, organic even. Mix that together, make a little dressing and drizzle it over it. Leave it probably about, doesn't have to be long, probably 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how you like it. Some people like theirs, as they say, cooked by the acid a little bit more. I prefer it just dressed. Doesn't need, especially if it's a nice fresh kingi, it doesn't have to be marinated that long. I would eat it straight like that. Actually, I feel like eating it now. With everything, there's a million different ways you could do this. Someone will try to tell you it's not the traditional way or not the proper way. There's no proper way. You just do it how you like it. I just like it like this. Sometimes you can use sherry vinegar or red wine vinegar. I like red wine vinegar, but it has to be a good vinegar. You don't want to just bog standard white vinegar. It'll work, but you know. As it's South American, they do love their spice. Even though I've got chili in there, a lot of it, add in a little bit of Tabasco, slightly different heat. As I said, this is why I was surprised it was everyone's favourite, because I do make it fiery. A bit of salt. Here we've got some finely diced red onion. You don't want too big of chunks, as fine as you can, but we've got some Italian parsley, some fennel, which pretty much you can put on whatever, the coriander. We've got chili, Tabasco, some white balsamic, and some extra virgin olive oil, and a bit of salt. Salt and everything. I always put too much salt in, but chefs do that. And then to dress, it's not really, as I said before, you're not marinating it, you're just sort of making a dressing to go over it. So, and it's sort of even covering. You can see the Tabasco in that, all the red oil that's from Tabasco. I just put about half a bottle in there, but that's how it is. I always try and make it hotter and hotter until I'm the only one that wants to eat it, so I get more, but it never seems to work. You want to cover every little bit of that fish and go, damn, doesn't that look good already. So this is a piece that we wrapped in Glad wrap and put on ice here, so it's a little bit firmer and a little bit more of an even shape, ready for this sashimi. We've got to find the grain. We don't just slice it any old way. So we've got a grain running this way. It's just like anything. A slice like you would with a cut of meat. Slice against the grain. Get it. So get it that way. We should be able to. It's nice and firm. Tend to slice everything on an angle. I don't know, even if I'm cutting a carrot for a stew, I always sort of, it's more of a habit than any rule, but it's easier as well. You can slice straight down and you tend to go wobbly and you can't get quite as even of a slice. And if you just sort of slice, peel, and as you go, just instead of trying to lay it out beautifully as you go on the plate, and then you should be able to, if I've done it well, pick up the whole lot in one go. Dress it up, but to be honest, I don't think it needs dressing up. It's bloody good as it is. So if you want this, if you're out on Skyline and you caught a couple of nice kingis, it will take me about 45 minutes to an hour. Break it down, cook it up for you on a barbecue wherever you're staying. You'll be eating in the first half an hour. Within an hour I'll have you a 2-course meal done. So save that one kingi that you got there, and I can guarantee you're going to have a beautiful meal. With the trimmings we saved earlier and a little bit of the other loin I just sliced up there to bulk it up a bit, we're going to save this for some cooking later. And we've got some diced chili, finely diced, some red onion. Again, like I was saying earlier on the earlier video, being one day away from July, I couldn't find any coriander, but so I'll just replace that with a few other fresh herbs. And then we're going to slice in a whole heap of these beautiful off my tree at home limes. Limes are yellow, by the way. They're not green like you see in the shops. Well, most limes are yellow. Those little green ones you buy, not the best. But anyway, look at that. It's can't get much better than that. When I say a few limes, I mean lots. You can use lemon, even if you don't have a lot of lemon. It can be expensive at times. You can go 50-50, bit of lemon and a bit of vinegar, just bump up that acid level. But if you can get fresh limes, you're not going to beat it. I prefer to leave it probably 10 to 15 minutes, sort of thing. That's enough time if it's a nice kingfish. Things like going on, if you're using Cherokee snapper or trevally, I find really good. You might want to leave it a little bit longer, but it all depends how fresh it is. That should, I think, one more be enough. At times of the year, this could be nearly $60 worth of limes, so you wouldn't want to be doing that. It would make it a bloody expensive ikamata. But since these are off my tree, pretty much falling on the ground, it costs us nothing. We can go a little bit more liberal with it. And the salt, always liberal with the salt. A lot of this will come off when we drain it in a second. Press it down, you can just see the lime juice is just coming up to about the same level as the fish once I press it down. That's all you need to do. Chuck a bit of Glad wrap over that, put it in the fridge for 10 minutes, and then bring it back out later to finish it off. It's not finished yet. You're going to finish it with the coconut cream, but you want to leave it to marinate in the lime juice and salt first before you put that in. A little bit of olive oil so it doesn't stick to the grill. Always oil your food, not the grill, because oil will burn on the hot grill and then you get black. sooty sort of taste. Not really like veal. So same with the steak. It's a little trick. Always don't oil your pan, oil the steak, and then put the steak in the pan. So the kingfish that we trimmed up earlier and put on the skewers, dusted with a Cajun, bit of olive oil. We're just going to quickly grill on the barbie. You don't want to overcook kingfish, it dries out. So you're pretty much doing a minute on each side at the most, and it'll be done. Overcook it, dries out, not nice. You could eat it raw, not going to, but you can. We're going to drain a bit of that off. So once you've marinated that for a while, you'll find that adding the salt and the lemon juice draws a lot of moisture out of the fish, and you end up with a big pool. Where you had a little bit of juice before, now you've got a massive pool of juice. You can see it in there. You can leave that in there, it's not going to hurt it, but you're going to end up with a real watery yakamata. So what I tend to do is just tip off a little bit of extra that you don't want to get rid of all of it, because that's your flavour, but you also don't want it too watery. And then to there we're going to chuck in some cherry tomatoes, or just normal tomatoes to do, and a couple of, well, see how we go, one might be enough. Canned coconut cream. Don't skimp on coconut cream. You can get cheap coconut cream, and it's half a tin of water, a little bit of coconut cream, and you're going to end up, there's no point tipping off all the water if you're going to tip half a can of water back into it. So always get I'm not going to point out a brand, but don't skimp on the coconut cream. I think we might need those 2 tins. Try a little bit of that. Check the seasoning. Could do a bit more salt. I think this chili's good. Otherwise, at this point, quite often if you have tipped out too much of the juice, you might need a bit more lime. Lime's good. Definitely need a bit more salt. Chili's good. This is where you do your final seasoning after you put the coconut cream in. And I think that should be us. Serve that up. Skewers should be ready, and we'll be ready to go. And there we have it. We've got a kingfish and a couple of snapper. We've still got plenty left over. We can do some more stuff with as well, but this is a small selection. We've got our yakamata that we made, our ceviche, kingfish skewers with the Cajun on the barbecue, some sashimi with soy, wasabi, pickled ginger, and a nice top loin from our kingfish. And my favourite part, I would probably say, half the snapper here, the frames from the kingi, the flaps, and the belly. So we don't waste anything, it's all used. We top it off with the wine.
Absolutely superb, mate. Gorgeous. Best I've ever had, that's for sure. Got to fly 14,000 miles to get this. It's absolutely paradise.